Welcome to the Be Kind podcast with your host, Joe Kirkner, presented by the Animal Advocates of South Central Pennsylvania.
Welcome, everybody, to the Be Kind podcast, part of the Animal Advocates mission to create a more compassionate world for all living creatures, whether you live in the United States, live in the UK, or any other of the amazing countries in the world. All animals and creatures deserve to be loved, and we are working to make a world where everyone is loved with our work, especially this podcast, and this episode in particular, because we are joined by Olivia from across the pond, as some people say, in the UK. So, hi, Olivia.
Hi, everybody.
And she's joined us via Zoom after some technical difficulties that neither of us have ever seen before. That was really weird.
It's very strange.
And she is a member of the Fat Ass Vegans Are Awesome Facebook group, and she had heard the episode we did with Lisa, and she said she wanted to come on and share her international perspective and help us expand our horizons. And so we were all for it and sent over some questions, some talking points, and got everything squared away. So, Olivia, I've talked enough this opening, so without further ado, do you want to give us a little background on yourself and your vegan journey?
So I originally went vegetarian when I was about 12-ish. My sister showed me some flyers of some animal testing, and I remember it clearly. It was like a cat with some kind of electrodes in its head. Well, I was scared. I just remember crying, and then that was it. I was really put off. So I stuck with being a vegetarian for about 16 or 17 years. And the reason is I did try and go vegan a couple of times, but those years ago, when you went shopping, there was barely anything. And it had to be from a health food shop. You couldn't get it in like general supermarkets. So you were really, really limited, not like now. And then I had like a bit of a phase where I ate some chicken and I felt horrendous. I even had like nightmares about it. It was like hard for me to admit to doing it even. Like it became like really shameful that I even tried it. And same with fish as well. Like I tried some fish, tried some chicken. And then I knew all along that the right thing to do was to go vegan. So I did like Veganuary, which I'm sure you've probably heard of, which is like a month challenge. And then since then I've stuck with it. So I think I'm about, it doesn't sound very long, but I'm about four months in, I think now, to full vegan.
That's great. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the vegan options in the UK way back when, but how's the vegan community in the UK right now, both in terms of options and people's attitudes towards the lifestyle?
It has exploded. I have never seen a growth of a market like vegan food. You know, there was always like a lot of vegetarian food, like Quorn, but a lot of that contained egg. Now the amount of vegan food is just massive. So like all major chain supermarkets, major chain restaurants, sometimes now have like a total vegan menu plus the normal menu. You know, that was impossible years ago. You used to go into a restaurant and you'd be lucky if you got one thing that you could eat even as a vegetarian. It's just everywhere now, and there's a lot of people who think it's a bit of a fad. You know, it'll go out of fashion, it's too fashionable, it's only trendy people that are following vegan diet, but I think it's amazing. There's just so much choice. Absolutely spoiled for choice now. It's great.
That's awesome. And it just goes to show this is becoming a worldwide thing, because the same thing's happening here too. Like I was vegetarian for 20 plus years, and there was nothing, like hardly anything anywhere. And then all of a sudden, boom, within like the last decade, it just exploded. And now that veganism has become like a household name, it's like, you're seeing it in restaurants and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So it's great that it's like definitely becoming a worldwide thing now.
And even in a lot of countries that you wouldn't necessarily think would be vegan, like more conservative parts of the world, actually have taken it on as well. It's amazing.
Something that I think us people who live in the U.S. take for granted is just how big our country is, and we don't realize that areas like Europe, where the countries are much smaller, a lot of them are smaller than states in the United States. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how regional attitudes and accessibility of veganism is in the UK. Is your size make it much more of an option for everybody, or is it similar to the U.S. where depending on where you live really dictates how easy it is and how feasible it is for you to practice a vegan lifestyle?
It does depend a little bit, because if you're in a big city, particularly cities that have universities that are quite young and trendy, you usually bespoke for choice. You'd have loads of options. But there are parts of the UK that are a little bit quieter, like more conservative. And you've got less chain restaurants and you've got less independent vegan restaurants as well. So I would say it does depend where you are. So where I am, quite a conservative town. I'm not actually from here. I grew up in another part, but there's no vegan restaurants here where I live. If you go a little bit further north, you're into rural Yorkshire, there's definitely no vegan places there. So big cities, you'd be fine. Rural places, less food.
Right. That's kind of how it is here too. I mean, it's definitely the bigger cities that have the things that you're trying to get a hold of.
And those rural places, how far of a drive is it to a more urban area? Around here, depending on where you live, it could be hours drive.
I'm luckily not that far. The nearest city is 45 minutes to York or 45 minutes to Leeds. You're into quite large cities, which have vegan places to eat.
Nice.
Just not anywhere local, like in my actual town.
Gotcha.
Something to be said about walking downtown and grabbing something vegan at a place within walking distance. That is a very cool feeling nowadays.
Yeah.
So I have faith that you'll get there in your little town.
I hope. You know what? Every time I go anywhere vegan, I'm like, please open up in Harrogate. Please come where I live. Yeah.
So what's it been like these past 4 months practicing veganism in your personal and professional life? How has it maybe challenged you, or what are some surprises you've had as you've been going on this journey?
I think the jump into veganism was more daunting than the actual change, like just making that commitment, like that's it now, I'm not going to buy any more dairy or anything. And also, even though I've not missed it, I haven't missed anything, to be fair. My partner is Polish, so that typical kind of diet is a lot of meat, and I actually said to him, I don't know if you want to do this or not, but I am going vegan. You can join me. And he's actually taken it on board as well. And I wouldn't say that we've missed anything. Like there's not been any food that we've missed. We've had so much variety as we did before. It's really not been that hard. And a few people at work have asked me about it, if I've gone full vegan and that now. But I've started taking my own oat milk to work. So it's not caused any inconvenience to anybody. I thought that, I might get a bit of challenge, but it didn't happen. So everybody's been quite good. It's just sometimes I get a bit of panic when I go to visit family. They're like, I don't know what to feed you. They're so confused what to feed me. And I say, please just relax. You don't have to. I can bring something But yeah, it's causing more panic just when I visit family and friends than I would say it is for me personally.
It's funny how that works out. It's always the hardest with the people you're closest to sometimes, and the people who you may know only peripherally is fairly easy to navigate because there's not that quite level of intimacy or investment in you as a person. But people who know you and are really invested in your life, all of a sudden they're worried, they don't know what to do, they want to make you happy, and it creates a whole kerfuffle. And for me, that was also a really hard part about going vegan, is navigating those close personal relationships.
Yeah, I think, if you go out, it's easy because whatever you choose on a menu is your choice. But when you go to somebody's house, they feel like they're under pressure to cater to you, if you know what I mean. So I think that's why it's harder. When you go to family and friends' house, that's where the challenge is. But I think a lot of that is it's more daunting for them to just have to serve you something. And I keep saying how easy it is, or I'll bring my own milk, it's no issue. I think the worry is in them not knowing what to give you rather than any actual problem.
Yeah, and speaking of food, what are some staple UK vegan dishes that are part of your life that we may not know about here in the US?
Well, I'm sure you've heard of fish and chips.
Yep.
Typical British staple food. Well, now we've started getting banana blossom fish and toadfish.
Nice.
So some places are opening up vegan fish and chip shops, which has been amazing. So I've been to one about 45 minutes away from where I live, and I had a banana blossom fish for the first time, plus some vegan scampi and chips. How
was it compared to do you remember even having fish before you went vegetarian? Because that was... So what's the comparison?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Banana blossom, it's quite stringy, so I would say the texture is a little bit more like chicken, but with the batter, it doesn't even matter what you eat because it's the batter that makes the flavour.
Right.
So I was really impressed, to be honest. It was so good, and I think it's food like that puts people off going vegan, because they think like they're going to miss out. They're not going to be able to eat that food anymore. And actually, these places are just proving now that you don't need to miss out. You can still have the same food. And I suppose other things like a Sunday dinner, traditional dinner that you have on a Sunday would always be roast chicken or roast beef, and now you can get vegan joints, it sounds crazy, like a joint of animal, but a vegan pretend chicken, and then you would still have all the other elements of the meal. So food like that, like more traditional food, is definitely going vegan now. So hopefully, the more options there are, the less people feel like they're missing out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
My knowledge of UK food is almost predominantly imparted to me from Gordon Ramsay. So I saw an interesting picture, I think it was in one of the Facebook groups. It was his beef Wellington, but they made it with seitan. Exactly the same, just seitan, and I think they did something with the batter to make it vegan. So even things like that, they think super fancy, crazy, anti-vegan guy Gordon Ramsay. It's really not that hard to make his stuff vegan.
Well, you might be surprised to know that Gordon Ramsay did a competition of restaurants where they went head-to-head against each other. And it was in different genres. So one was Indian, and the Indian restaurant that actually won Gordon Ramsay's best restaurant is vegan and vegetarian Indian food. It's an amazing restaurant. It's actually not that far from me, and I've been quite a few times. And I was really shocked because Gordon Ramsay was like notorious for not liking vegan and vegetarian, but the food is so good. They actually won it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, other cuisines are so much more vegan friendly because they have that versatility, and it doesn't rely on that hunk of dead animal flesh and potatoes. It's actually spices and flavors and cooking techniques and passion and dedication to make it good. It's not the easy route was just fry a piece of food or slap a piece of steak on a grill or something. And this is me getting on my soapbox a little bit, but when anybody says, well, I can't live without meat, I need my chicken sandwiches or fish and chips. If you actually look at people and they eat that kind of food, they're not sitting there savoring the delicious, tangible qualities of this dead chicken sandwich or something. They're just kind of scarfing it down on their drive to work and stuff. So are you really going to miss it all that much? You're just kind of eating something fried, and does it really need to be something that is causing suffering? But that's another conversation for that. I just always think that when people say stuff like that. Do you partake in any vegan activism? And as a kind of joint question, what's activism scene like in the UK, and how prominent is it in the vegan movement?
Well, starting off with myself, so years ago I used to do a lot for Stop Hunting and Life Sciences, which I don't know if you will have heard of. It did disband eventually, but I was a teenager when that began, and that was protesters who went up against Hunting and Life Sciences, who were exposed quite a few times for abusing the animals in the laboratories. So I used to do a lot of emailing on their behalf, and my sister actually went to a few of their protests. And then we also did some in our local city. So we went in with flyers and all that kind of stuff. We were handing them out. In fact, once I even got dressed up as a chicken, and I actually protested outside KFC.
Nice.
Years ago.
So you dressed up like a chicken?
I did, yeah. Some people still like to remind me of it because they think it's hilarious that I got dressed up as a chicken. But more recently, some groups have started to come around. I don't know if you've heard of Extinction Rebellion. There's also an animal branch, that protest group. They do civil disobedience, should I say. So recently they blockaded outside a burger making plant, and they do that kind of disruption tactics to do with the environment and to do with animals, because they believe that the climate change is really urgent, so they're ready to take direct action. So they're a group that have just recently come around. As you probably know, that fox hunting is still happening, unfortunately, here in the UK. So hunt saboteurs, who have been around for years, are still going strong now. I haven't personally been to join them, but that's to do with my job as well. I have to be careful with my job,
right.
or have had to be careful. The other thing is that I actually decided to go to university and do my dissertation in ethics and animal rights. And I'm still studying now, but now I'm onto my master's. I'm hoping that through that kind of educational channel, I might have a positive effect on academic work, the kind of studies that students are pointed at, because a lot of classical psychology studies are actually animal studies and cruel animal studies. I would really like to change that, because to me that's not a good way to teach students. It takes that moral questioning out of it. You're just looking at a study and you're not thinking of those individuals that were involved in that study. It's just a result to most students. So that, I always feel like when somebody complains about something like they want a law to change, I think go to law school. Change the law, challenge it yourself. If that's what you want to do and that's how you feel about it, you should do something about it. And that's what I'm kind of going through now
That's
with
awesome.
my own studying. So
Yeah, sometimes you gotta do it yourself, right?
yeah, definitely. I think if you've got the potential and the motivation, then anybody can do anything if they really want to do it.
Yeah, and you're right. A lot of those studies that are out there are just terrible to animals. And spoiler alert, when you abuse baby monkeys with their fake versions of their mothers, that messes them up. Who knew?
Exactly. And that's what's really frustrating about it, because you never needed to do that experiment to find that out. And why it's still being used all these years later, because it realistically, with all the stringent ethical guidelines that we get told to follow as students, those experiments never should have got through them, but that's the kind of battle that you're up against in this sort of academic world, is that a lot of it relies on outdated experiments, and you have to try and challenge that, I suppose, or acknowledge it for what it is and not look at it and think, wow, this study's amazing. Well, it isn't, because it was based on abuse.
And something else I'm curious to know about is, what are some of the vegan celebrities in the UK? I know a lot of vegans know Earthling Ed and people like him. Is there any other vegan celebrities, or what's the public perception in the mainstream society? Because we don't really know the vegan perception of people like Earthling Ed, because we're not there to see what non-vegans think of individuals like him.
I think it depends on if you follow celebrity culture, how much that kind of affects opinion. But I do think, Mo Farah, the athlete, he started doing the advertising for Quorn products, and a lot of people never thought that you could be athletic, or, I know it's outdated, but, that you had to eat meat to be an athlete or to have the endurance. So when he started doing those adverts, I actually think that was a positive thing to do, because people will listen to somebody like that and they look at his physique and think, I want that physique, and here he is advertising vegan and vegetarian products. As for celebrities, I'm trying to think of some British celebrities, but I don't really follow British celebrity culture, so it's hard for me to try and think of somebody now.
Yeah, it's funny because we only know the really, really big ones because we're not in that culture. So that's why I was curious to see what the kind of mainstream media depiction of veganism is like over there.
Well, I think it's definitely growing, but a lot of celebrities here are American as well that people follow, like Jacqueline Phoenix and Miley Cyrus, people like that, who'd gone onto the vegan diet. Pamela Anderson especially, she did loads for campaigning and stuff. So I would probably say you probably have more vegan celebrities in the US than we do in the UK.
Wow, that's kind of surprising, especially because there's so many famous UK actors and celebrities. You would think that there has to be some. We'll have to look into that.
We'll have to get them on the
show.
show.
But like you said, you don't follow too many celebrities, so why would you know that? I don't blame you on that.
In fact, I'll tell you who is a vegan. That's kind of surprising. Is Novak Djokovic. He's a Wimbledon
really
winner.
Oh,
apparently he's a vegan.
I did not know that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I googled it too.
Yeah, that is news to me.
I remember when he beat Nadal that one year. That was a big deal. That was probably the year before I stopped watching sports. So, but yeah, that's really cool to hear that. So, vegan athletes, they're a thing.
Yeah. Oh, and Lewis Hamilton, actually. I think he is as well. He's the Formula 1 driver.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. See? You know some.
I'm thinking about it.
And we found you through a Facebook group, Fat Ass Vegans Are Awesome. What are some of your favorite posts or things you've seen on that group, or anything you're thinking about submitting to the group that relates to the fat assery of it all?
Well, this is really hard because there's so much good food on there, and I think because there's such a large American following as well, there's a lot of food that I've never heard of. America's very multicultural, like here is, But there's certain cultures that we don't hear much of in the UK, like South American and that kind of thing. So it's really good to see a lot of posts of dishes I've never heard of. Like regional dish, like you were saying about regional, like more regional dishes. For Beyond Meat is much bigger in the US. It's kind of come to here a little bit, but you guys seem to have the most options, like with Beyond Meat. So it's nice to see all the different things that people are making, and I'm hoping, like, as the seasons change as well, it comes to Christmas and Halloween, and we get to see even more of what people like to eat during those seasons. So I've definitely been getting some ideas, and some of it looks really good.
Oh yeah.
And I've been sharing mine on there too.
Good.
All my unhealthy food.
Yes, I've seen some of your stuff. Very tasty looking. Thank you for that.
Yes.
It's so interesting that you're jealous of our Beyond Meat, because everyone's always jealous of the UK pizza options.
We do have some good pizza here.
Couldn't tell how many times someone shares a post that's Pizza Hut releases vegan pizza, and then some of the comments goes UK ... and then everyone.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Like, there's a lot of things that you have that we don't have. Like some of the there's some candies and stuff that you had that were vegan, but here it's not. It's very strange.
Right,
I don't know what that's about. But like he said, there's like. Isn't there doesn't KFC I think have a UK place that has vegan?
It does a vegan burger now.
Yeah, it's like. Like you guys are getting stuff we're not, and it's kind of cool because you're almost like a test subject there. Like they test it out there and then they bring it here, or it goes across the world. You're lucky in that sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I was saying, most chains now, because they're getting so much attention from vegans, are now bringing out vegan options, like Starbucks, places like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we are really lucky. But then sometimes I see chains in the US, and when they bring out something, I'm like, please bring it to the UK. So probably the grass is on the other side.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's kind of cool though. Like that you're getting things before us, and then it comes to us.
If we both just combine all the vegan options we have into one, let's make our own vegan country. We take all this vegan stuff from both countries. I feel like this is how cults start.
You're not wrong.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Well, I have one question that I want to get out there before we let you have the final word on anything. And this is a very question pertinent to our vegan community here. I don't know if it's as controversial a topic in the UK, but hummus or guacamole?
I think hummus is definitely more popular here because people are just getting their heads around avocados. But I love both. I love both things. Both are great, definitely.
Well, I will still cast my vote for Team Hummus every day. I'm Team Hummus. I think it's just an amazing condiment that you can use for so many purposes. You can put on sandwiches, you can dip stuff in, you can stir into stir fries, you can put in seitan. There's different flavors, there's dessert kinds, you can mix it with other sauces. I love hummus.
Calm down. Hummus is very diverse. I love guac through and through, but yeah, hummus is very versatile.
It's good, and I remember, I think the first time I ever tried it, I thought it was so strange, such a strange taste.
Yeah.
And now I love it. So
yeah, it definitely grew on me too. I'm a big fan though.
Well, those are all the questions I have. Do you have any final words or any final thoughts for our listeners about veganism in the UK, or what someone listening should know about different countries and their views towards this lifestyle?
I think as consumers, it's really important for us to vote with our purchases, because even though places like KFC in reality don't care about the chickens or the welfare of the chickens, we all have a decision to make about whether we want to put the money towards their vegan options so that they actually increase them, see the demand for what it is. So every time we buy a vegan product, it's a vote for that lifestyle, a vote for that product, and all these big businesses, that's all they care about. All they're bothered about is the profit. So for me, it's definitely, every time I buy a vegan food, it's like a little political statement that I am demanding that product, and every purchase is a vote towards vegan. So even if people are not 100% vegan, if you go to a restaurant, you see a vegan option, buy it. That's a vote. Every time you buy is a vote. That to me is really important, and sometimes it's just those small things that, you're not going out and protesting, but you are making a conscious decision as a buyer So that's really important, and I hope people kind of get on board with that and think about that, even if they're not full vegans, and maybe they're just trying the lifestyle a little bit. And I will keep posting food, and I hope everyone else keeps posting food.
Well, that was very well said, and we look forward to seeing what you post. Thank you so much for being on the episode.
Yes, thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been really fun.
Have to do it again.
Definitely. We'll have to
Definitely.
road trip.
Road trip. Yeah, we'll try that. Maybe we can have you on for your veganversary.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice. Definitely. I have to make something then, like a cake, and bring it on camera.
That'd be great.
Yes, and after you post pictures of it on Badass Vegans Are Awesome.
That's right.
Awesome.
Again, thank you so much for coming on. You're awesome.
That's okay. Thank you guys for having me. It's been really good.
You're welcome. And if anyone listening out there in the UK, the US, or any other country wants to be on the show, just send us an email at bekindpodcast@gmail.com, and we have the capabilities to get you on the show through the magic of the internet. Thank you for listening, and we hope you tune in again soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Be Kind podcast, presented by the Animal Advocates of South Central Pennsylvania.